Viewer discretion is advised.
There's a lot of students walking in that fog, and I think that's due to lack of purpose. They haven't been walking in purpose.
Mandate.
Welcome to Mandate, where we navigate fresh perspectives and nothing is off the table. Tonight's guest, yes, I said guests. We have 3 guests in the studio tonight, vibrant and also very intelligent young people. And so they're actually studying, they've finished their first year of studies in university. 2 of them at UOA and also one is of AUT. And so they're all from Okilari and Tamaki Makaurau. And so one is actually majoring in biology and also computer science. The other is Pacific Studies and also politics, and the last one is doing creative technologies. And so please put your hands together for these amazing 3 individuals, these young, vibrant and exuberant folks. Please put your hands together for Nathanael Tivoli, Mena Falefata and Mac Puiri. Hey, thank you so much for coming in tonight. And so just to get the ball rolling and started, because you finished your first year of studies, please tell us how has it been for you guys finishing high school and now getting into this new world of study and university and so forth, obviously in AUT and UOA. So tell us, how has it been for you? Give us some insights of your journey thus far.
Yeah, I think going to uni from high school, it's really different. Much more students, much more smarter students. Keep you motivated, and sometimes I feel alone because only one coming from South Auckland, and not that much people that like brown faces that I normally grew up with, not in university, which is kind of weird because I have to find my own friends. Making new ones as well, which is kind of sad. But this year taught me a lot. There's a lot of freedom in my degree that I'm taking, which allows me to grow on my creativity, which is great because I really want to grow on my creativity. I just learned so much about coding and product design, which I want to go into as a career, which is entrepreneurship or something like that, and business. I'm trying to get that bag, but to be honest, but that's basically me.
Cool. Awesome.
Oh yeah. I think for me, I don't know about you guys, but I actually enjoyed it. It was like, obviously it's going to be hard transitioning from a different space into another, but I mean, I love experiences and like learning. Call me a nerd, but I feel like it's such a great opportunity just to see other smart people or see other minds and just kind of learn off them and kind of develop your own kind of identity in a different space. But yeah, I'd say it was definitely rocky in the first start. You get humbled real quick in those spaces a lot. But yeah, looking back, I feel like I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, pretty much what you two just said as well. I think there's a greater responsibility being transitioning from high school to university. You don't have the teacher on your back saying you have to do your work, you have to do your homework. You kind of just have to put that on your back and be your own motivator, I guess. But yeah, it's good to find people that think alike and find like-minded people. So yeah, but I felt like I was prepared for the workload, especially coming from high school and strict parents. So yeah, it's pretty enjoyable.
That's cool. That's awesome. You mentioned, I love it what you said. You mentioned there's a level of independence and obviously the transition. And so it can be quite daunting, eh? I can imagine it can be quite daunting. You go to a new institute and you kind of try to figure things out. So if you can tell Jay and myself, how long did it take for you to kind of assimilate, so to speak, or try to fit in, or even like you were saying, someone mentioned that, there's other people who are smarter than I am. And so how long did it kind of for you kind of to fit in, but also to really find yourself or find your place in uni?
For me, it was the first day I settled in pretty quickly. It was funny because
All the girls, eh?
Those are all the boys.
But I think the first day, I remember sitting on the first table. I sat on any table, empty, and somehow I just saw this guy that was sitting there. Pause, but I saw this guy and he was like, might have just sat next to him. And then more students started coming in, started settling down, and more boys came to sit on next to our table. And it was weird because when the class started, I looked around, I was like, damn, all these guys are poly. I was like, I can get used to this. But it was funny because I looked across the room and all the polys were on our table, which was crazy. I was like, we can't somehow like magically placed into this one table. But I think there's a fear of sitting next to someone that's not like you, or brown, I'd say. But once I settled down with them, I spoke to them. I was like, that classic Christian. What school did you go to? Only hung out. Me. Do you know this guy? Yeah. And that's how that's like how we polys get to know each other, what culture are you and stuff. But that's pretty easy for us. Islanders getting to know each other. It's like 2 Christians and man, best friends, best man at your wedding next year. Nah. But we became pretty close throughout the year, which I'm very happy about because they're way smarter than me, so I can look over look to the answers. But yeah, happy with this year so far. Yeah.
Awesome.
I feel like for me, it didn't take long as well, even though I feel like I only fully settled in second semester. Because I had a lot of friends taking the same courses I did, because I did Unibound as well. So like we all had our groups, and it was just like set like, do you want to meet me after my class? Or like we'll go all together. But second sem, I felt like that's where I like fully had to go on my own and kind of like delegate. I had to make the right choices and etc. Like, get the right networks, get the right connections, etc. Because reflecting back on my first sem, it was a lot of like, we'll do it last minute, like, and that didn't go well in my mental health, especially. But I felt like, and it was great because like the courses that I'm taking, we see a lot of like variety of different ethnic groups as well. So it was kind of like, inspiring moments, seeing them, seeing those faces in those spaces really like kind of like gave me that motivation to I can do this. If I see their similar faces like doing what they're doing, I can do it as well, forgot my train of thought. I was gonna but I feel like I've settled well.
Awesome. Cool, man.
Yeah, for me, it was actually the opposite. It took me a really long time to kind of fit in. And it was a kind of daunting moment. You get to university, it's like, oh man, I actually don't have any friends. Hey, it's like, oh wow, I thought I made friends in high school, but then you see them in university, you kind of just put your head down low. I don't know you anymore. But it took me quite a long time because I think like deep down inside, I'm kind of introverted. And so I found it really hard to kind of approach people and be like, hey, what's your name? Where you from? But then I remembered that I had a brother at AUT. So I kind of just leached off of him and his friends. So eventually I got there, but it did take a while. I think a lot of people speak on this. The culture at UOA is a little bit less culturally, I guess, sensitive when it comes to I guess islanders. I'm not gonna, kind of sugarcoat it or whatnot. Yeah, so mainly towards islanders, but all in all, I got there eventually. So settled in now, but it did take me quite a while. So yeah.
And that's cool. I've got so many questions, but I guess the first one, Pete, is in your mind, just thinking about the show and our audience, why do you think it's so important for us to hear more from the upcoming generation and their experiences? Because I think it's such an important thing to gauge, and because you guys, oftentimes people will talk about wanting to help the upcoming generation, all that sort of stuff. But how often do we actually get to speak to them and hear their real experiences? But I was just curious to hear from your perspective and for our audience, why do you think it's so important for us to be able to have these conversations with this upcoming generation?
Yeah, that's a good question, Jay. And I think, for instance, I think it's very important because we have a lot of guests that come on, and obviously adult guests. And I think what tends to happen is that we kind of miss, or we don't, I guess, so to speak, we don't get the voices of our young people, so to speak. We miss out on their viewpoints, miss out on what they're thinking, miss out on their world. And so it's important for us, as fathers, Jay, to listen to some of these the younger generation and to see what's happening for them, what's their standpoint on and their opinions, but also what are they going through? What are some of the struggles they go through? What are some of the successes? And how do we as adults, or how do we as parents help to support those issues or those goals that they have, and also to better understand? I think, if anything, if we can understand as adults and bridge that gap in terms of young generation, versus the older generation, I can guarantee that we can make a lot of headways in terms of intergenerational but wealth, or more so intergenerational a standpoint where everyone kind of works together. So I think it's a good question. I think we should have the voices of our young people heard, and be confident enough to speak their mind.
Ah, cool. Awesome. I think sometimes, just to add on to that, sometimes I think, and obviously my kids are still young, they're like 4 and almost 2, but I imagine for a lot of parents, seeing their kids go out into university, they're used to a structure when you go through primary, intermediate, high school, and now in university you're kind of going a little bit off into the world, and so there's a lot of fear and a lot of trust from the parents' perspective, to hope that they've done enough to give you what you need. And for a lot of parents, I imagine it's hard for them to let go. Some of them don't let go, and that's all good. It's a learning process for everyone. But when we think about you guys starting at university, especially so young from high school, I'm curious about what inspired you, because you're all studying quite unique, amazing things. So I'm curious about what influenced you to pick those specific things and dedicate the next, because it's not just a year of your lives, like this is 3, 4, sometimes 5 years of your life, to further study. What made you pick those specific things?
For me, it was because where I'm wanting to head to is towards medicine. I do want to become a doctor, and what inspired me was my grandfather. So he was one of the only doctors in Samoa in his time, and so seeing his work ethic, seeing the kind of man that built him up to be, kind of made me want to be like, I want to be like that too. So that's kind of the man I always aspired towards, and maybe even take it even further. So it was always my grandfather, also my uncle George. He's a psychiatrist in Samoa as well. This man was the definition of work. He still is the definition of work. So I've never seen him take an off day. I've never seen him sick. Him and my dad. So they've always been the workers in my family, and so they've kind of pushed me to want to work hard, to always be the best that I can be. Still a work in progress, but those are the men in my life who kind of inspired me to take this path. And it's a long road, but if someone could do it before me, then I can do it too. So yeah.
I feel like for me, it took me a while to kind of pinpoint where I want to see myself in the future. And I felt like that didn't really come into play until like my last year of school. And I was like, I have to like actually seriously think about, I can't just, follow the steps of like my siblings or like, family members. Like I actually want to do something for myself. And so I felt like in like the experiences that I took, in my last year of school, really kind of planned out where I wanted to be, and that was like seeing representations in like the politics, like the political systems, and especially getting our people, our voices in those spaces, and like the real authentic, perspectives, because I feel like a lot of our people tend to kind of want to fit those boxes that are kind of already played by, like, I would say our Eurocentric views, or like, so I felt like, yeah, and I feel, yeah.
For me, I think I was in the same boat as Mena, trying to find my intentions for what I was gonna pursue. It came to me at the last year of school. Oh, not really. I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to study, something with art and design, because that's a really good passion of mine, like designing. Make it into a business as well. In my final year of school, I did a project on the financial viability of NFTs, seeing if it was good enough, or like if you can get rich off it. So I was like, that project, by the way, it flopped anyway. By the way, flopped. I got no money from that. But yeah, that kind of inspired me to like pursue business. Because I saw videos of people getting rich off that, like quick money. That kind of like manipulated me, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie, that got me in a crypto spiral. But yeah, I got tricked into that. But still, I'm trying to learn the basics of business. Still trying to find skills in uni and in my degree. Yeah. Family, they really trusted me with what I was gonna pursue, because they saw my grades and it was like, oh, that's okay, you have your freedom. Yeah, so they trusted me. I make sure that their trust isn't wasted. So yeah.
Awesome to hear all your what inspires you and sort of what your vision is. And I know sometimes that can be a hard thing to articulate, because we often just keep it as an internal thing, and we don't often get to speak it. So just awesome. Good on you guys for being able to speak that on the spot, in front of a camera. Well done. I just wanted to touch on some of the things you guys had mentioned earlier. I think it's really interesting how you talked about going through high school and then going to uni was just next level. And it made me think about how not many of us get a choice to go through school. It's just expected of us. It's ingrained in us to go to school. But when you get to uni, it's that next level, because most of the people there are there for a purpose. They are all there to be the best, or to learn. Whereas at school, sometimes there's lots of people that are just there because they need to be, yeah? But it was just interesting that you guys all touched on, there's the sense of belonging where I think Mackie had mentioned looking for all the polys had sort of gathered together, and we naturally kind of want to belong in any space, even though the degrees that you're doing, it will only be your name on the degree at the end. Yet for some reason, we still feel like we have to belong, even though the pursuit is an individual one. And so it's just really interesting that you guys spoke about just that dynamic and wanting to fit in, because it is. Would you agree? It is still important to feel like you belong socially, even though you're off doing your own thing. You still want to feel like you belong, yeah? Yeah.
So true.
Why do you think that is? And is it something that's quite unique for our people, or do you think this is a human nature thing?
That's a great question. That's a great question.
I was always. Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
Yeah. I was always taught, kind of growing up, you're not a mountain that you stand alone. So I would say it's kind of a innate thing in a lot of us, but it is particularly expressed in our islander cultures because of our, I guess, our need to want to protect each other. I guess we feel comforted by one another. We feel protective of one another. We always feel a sense of belonging around our own people, and I think it relates to the alanga upu, awa ne ingaloa fia isi ona vau. So never forget those who were kind to you. And for us, it's our people. For us, it's our family. And when we see people that, look like our family, that treat us like our family, you're naturally inclined to gravitate towards that. And so I think that's where it comes from and where it's expressed for us islanders specifically. But in terms of it, I think it's sorry, I fogged out for a second. An innate thing in all of us. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I feel like it's an internalized thing where we're so used to being in a collective, like with our family, village. We always have that ingrained, sense of belonging to a place, and that's our family. And so going into those spaces, like Nate said, we were always trying to find that in those spaces. And I guess that's why we're always trying to find groups or like socially be social, because it's kind of daunting when you're going into these spaces and you're just like, oh no, like I can't be by myself, even though it's like okay to be on your own sometimes, but like you still feel the physical need to like be with people as well, because there's so much in your emotions and stuff like that. It's just, you need that social kind of,
Yeah. Just
foundation.
Just adding on. I think the social aspect is really important. Because hopping into uni, the first thing I put into mind was make friends, and then you'll be all right.
2 friends.
I told these guys early in the year to make friends, at least 2 friends, and and luckily, and Caroline told me to make at least 1 non-brown friend. But it turned out to be 2 brown friends, which is it's okay, but friend's a friend. But I think just getting as much relationships as you can, or at least some good relationships, really put me in a good spot where I can keep my mental health in check, check up on myself through other people, and just express my worries to them, like when's this assignment due and stuff, can we for my assignment. So just make sure message to everyone is get those good friends where they help you up, not like Nate but
no, it's really good because then they keep you like accountable in those times like you really need it.
I think Caroline said the same to me, to make 1 brown friend, 1. So I got 2 half castes, so half brown, so that makes 1 person,
half points,
half white, so that makes the other.
That's hilarious. Also, really good point, and really interesting to hear your fellas' perspectives on that. And it's interesting. I just wanted to add that I know at uni to begin with, we find people that look like us, and I think Mac, you had mentioned not being able to see it first, seeing people from our background at uni. And I think it's so important to see people that reflect yourself at uni, both as students, but also I think as lecturers as well. I think it's so important. And there's an interesting thing that happens when you're going through uni, and that's essentially the diversity of thoughts. It's finding the belonging with your thinking, because you'll learn things that will change the way you think, and it's really important to have people or friends. And you'll probably find that as you go through your studies, you'll find people that think similarly, and actually those will be the ones. And who knows what they look like or who they are, but it'll be really cool once if you haven't already, being able to find those people that think similarly, and you just connect without having to, without it being as demanding physically. So no, that's cool. Thank you so much for sharing.
You bring up a good point, Mena, because you said as a collective that we kind of naturally navigate to our people. We see someone, we connect with that person straight away. But how has it been for you in terms of your first year, in terms of study? If there's no brown person, if there's no poly or Māori person in your sites, how do you kind of interact? Are you guys comfortable, or are you guys confident to interact with someone who outside of your culture? Or, because you were saying something like in terms of it can be quite awkward. Sometimes we can't really connect with that person. But how's it been for you guys in terms of connecting with other cultures outside of the PI and Māori? It hasn't been easy, or are you confident to be in the midst of those different cultures?
I feel like it depends on the situation. Like, I feel like I'm more comfortable, like, if there's common ground, like, if there's something to latch on, or, like, but yeah, I feel like it depends, Obviously, in those tutorial groups, in those tutorial classrooms, there's obviously the common ground of, like, oh, what are you studying? Like, oh, what school did you come from? And then, like, kind of, like, naturally, like, it goes that way. But where there's, like, non-PIs in the room, I feel like, naturally I would have to, like, so, like, I'm an overthinker. So I always pre-plan these situations out. So I'm like, oh, yeah. So if I go into that class, just tell them, like, oh, what are you studying? Or, like, so what are your plans with the weekend? Like, those type. And usually it would, like, plan out the way where that relationship goes. And then, yeah, so I'll just, like, plan it out in my head. But I feel like I'm okay with not being in a room full of islanders. Although in my head I'm like, oh, I wish there was more PIs in this room. But, like, it's a matter of, like, oh, that's something I could work on towards,
Cool, that's good.
I think it boils down to your other point, diversity of thought, and just kind of finding those like-minded people as well. With it, it applies the same towards islanders. If you disrespect your parents, you're not on my birthday list. You know what I mean? So I think it's just the same can be applied to every other culture. I don't think for me personally, at least, your background matters towards how we interact. That doesn't necessarily have to be islander. But two of my best friends are actually Punjabi, so love those guys too. So we think the same, we interact the same, we joke the same. I guess it's the same with islanders. We joke the same way. So I guess it's just boils down to that.
Yeah, I agree. Like, honestly, I don't think it should matter on, like, the race. Like, it just boils down to, like, the same perspectives, or, like, the same morals, or, like, ethics involved. And that's what I've realized in uni. Like, yeah.
True. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, like I said, a friend's a friend. Yeah, friend's a friend. But coming off yours, you said diversity of thought. You said diversity of thought, and I think there's a lot of things you can learn from, different races, not just poly, and that's one thing that I'm trying to learn as well. Trying to at least talk to one non-poly person, but to be honest, I've been just sticking with my two friends lately, and they've been all good.
And you're sweet.
Yeah, I'm sweet. If I can copy your answers, then I just need you. But yeah, just going off the question. I really agreed with your diversity of thought, because coming from uni, from high school, there was only four cultures I know, like Cook Island, Māori, Tongan, Samoan, and then I walk into uni. There's like more heaps of races, which is cool. I made a friend, an Asian guy, and coming up you, man, common ground. So he noticed my basketball next to my foot, and he's like, "Oh, do you play basketball?" I'm like, "Yeah, I play basketball." And it's like, "Oh, do you know how to dunk?" And I just looked at him and like, yeah. And it's like, oh,
want me to demonstrate?
Yeah. I was like, oh, man, these guys are cool. I would have never known that I could have bonded with these people just having common ground. Yeah, and there's a lot of gamers in my course, which, like, just name one game and you become friends with them. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm just talking about friends, like making friends. It's
cool,
pretty
man.
easy, but yeah.
That's so cool, and I think that's an interesting point, Mac, because I think that's one of the best ways to find friends at uni. Literally, just what you wear. There's like clues that like you're into stuff. The lanyard that I wear, it was gifted by a student, but as a teacher, it's like just trying to connect with as many kids as you can. And so I typically have, if it's not an anime, it's a K-pop something. And then it's just like, that's how students will be like, oh, do you know about them? Oh, man, I watched that too. And then it's like, cool, we have a connection point.
Yeah.
And it's just cool that like that example of just your shoes, like that can be a way for students to go out and just meet people, just wear your favorite stuff and just be you. Sometimes standing out with what you are interested in is the best way to connect. So that's really awesome. I was going to touch on that point. One of the things I was curious about as well is when you reflect back on your high school time, because a few of you had mentioned it before, and you think about the journey that you've had at university now, did high school do enough to prepare you? And if not, what more could have been done to help you in this journey of university? Part of it might be the teachers, part of it might be your family. Like there are ways that they could have supported you more. And I think the reason I ask this is because I imagine there's a lot of young men out there who want to go to study, and you've come from high school, you're in there, and so your feedback, it's important. It really is. So I'm really curious to hear, your thoughts on preparations from that high school period, from teachers, from family, and just from yourselves.
Oh, yeah, I can start. 5 years I've been in Mangere College, and in those 5 years, haven't worked on my collaboration skills, like working in a group, because it's been a pretty independent journey in high school. I've been navigating on my own most of the time. To be honest, there wasn't really that much males that's been achieving well or to a certain standard. I'm gonna be honest, I was the top student in my class, so there wasn't really much people to keep me in line because I love being top of the class. So there was this, my main motivator was if I see someone like pretty smart and top of the class, I was I'm going to be the top of the class. But my collaboration skills. The male academic excellence was pretty low in our school. There was this one time in our assembly, they gave out their excellence endorsements. We had an assembly to hand out merit and excellence endorsements to students. And I looked around the stage and I was the only boy in my year level. I was like, where's all the boys at? And I was like, oh, snap. This was in year 12, by the way. And year 11, when I got my endorsement certificate. And I was like, damn. So, and boys were usually the ones I make friends with and talk about my assignments, but I couldn't because they didn't know what they were doing. And I could, but not to that excellence level. It's been hard collaborating and working in a group for me. Yeah.
I feel like for mine, I feel like our school was pretty lenient on like the pathways from high school. So I didn't think they really didn't overstep or like didn't prioritize what you needed for uni, really, because they kind of wanted to accommodate for all the other people wanting to go different pathways and etc. So I feel like that not having like, especially for Pacific Islanders and for my school, because it was pretty diverse. So it was kind of like the small percentage of Islanders going into uni. So they're like trying to generalize generalize everything. So I felt, but then again, feeling like being in that percentage just gave me more motivation to go through that pathway. Because honestly, I didn't think I was going to go into uni until like my last year as well. So I feel like there just needs to be more work around our Pacific Islanders in those diverse schools, because I feel like the common, conception is like islanders should just, you know, if you don't want to study more, go into like, you know, construct, like, you know, those other tertiary,
Politics and all
Yeah.
that. Find a
MIT,
course.
and all of those other options. So yeah, even though I feel like I was prepared, because I tried to make sure I did, I was prepared by like reaching out. And I feel like that's another thing, reaching out, even though you don't want to, or like you're just so used to like being all like, oh, I'm okay, like I'll be fine. I'll get there when I get there, you know, the preparation thing. Yeah. But I feel like it was a really independent journey, transitioning. And I don't think I would change it, but there was probably room for improvement in those during those times. Yeah.
Yeah, I do say that I was prepared from high school. I think a lot of the responsibility fell on me though, and understandably, because you know this is my path moving forward, and not necessarily everybody's gonna chime into that after their job is done, and so I don't expect them to. Like you said, you know, it's kind of like a lonely walk from there on, but it's a walk that you have to take. But in terms of academically, everything, I do appreciate my high school for everything that they did. A lot of what they were trying to do was push towards success rather than kind of veering us off into a single path. So it doesn't necessarily have to be university where you're successful. So I do appreciate my high school for a lot that they did for me, and for the academic preparation that they've done for me to be able to make it through. You know, we're finally done with our first year of university. So I'm glad to. I was happy in so many of my classes. Oh, I learned that in high school. Oh, I did this in high school.
Yeah.
Get back to my parents. Oh, I did this in high school. Oh, why are you still failing? Oh, thank you. No, so yeah, they did help a whole lot, a ton. So yeah.
Yeah, I think if I could add on like one specific thing that, you know, high school has taught me that was like really essential in uni, would obviously like find groups, find like those, be in those associations, you know, but always those citations. It was like, those, APA referencing. I was like, I didn't expect it was that, like, I know we touched it in history, but like I didn't expect it was
That's serious.
so particular. Like, oh my gosh, the indents, crazy. But yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Some of you have mentioned now a couple of times about mental health, and I'm curious about, you know, there's a lot of pressure on young people in high school, at uni, and you know, our country isn't exactly known for caring for the mental health of our young people, where, you know, there's some statistics out there that do not reflect well on us. And so I'm curious about the pressures or the things that play on your mind at high school and now at university. Are those things still the same? Have things changed? How do you deal with them? Just some thoughts on that.
Well, with me, I was kind of brought up really old school. I guess, you know, ako nga meron mental health. So, but my mom was she's a family therapist now, and she was a social worker. So she was really in the crowd with the people who were talking about, you know, suicide prevention, mental health, preparation and whatnot. And so I guess that played a massive part in our upbringing. But most of our childhood was, you know, rub some dirt on it. You know, we've been through worse. You know, I traveled up the hill to get to school, but you know, those are the stories that make you strong. And I've always been a believer in strong discipline being for us Islander people. Yeah, it's always been a strong belief in me. I've seen the results of undisciplined men, specifically men, undisciplined young men, and it's not a pretty sight. And you see where their mental health goes and the things that they tend to do. But in terms of discipline from young, you see, you know, massive men. I was talking about one of the Kamawhaingan wingers who was almost 7 foot, jacked guy, but soft as heart. My grandma will tell him anything to do, he'll go and do it. My Uncle George, massive monster of a man. I would never pick a fight with him, but absolutely, one word from my grandma, he goes and does it. And so I think those things play a part in you becoming a stronger person, a strong discipline, being strong-minded, I guess, and resilience, that's taught from young, I think. So that's me.
Yeah, I feel like mental health, it's a really touchy subject. And, transitioning from high school to uni, there are two different, kind of levels that you reach in those times, during those, eras. But I feel like for me, overcoming, there's always that common ground that has played throughout my journey in both of those spaces, and that would be thinking back to your family, your purpose. At the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of struggles that you face, but if you keep pushing for that, keeping your family as your forefront, as your drive, that would get you far. And I feel like it has gotten me far, after I've just cooled down, and I was gonna say something. Just lost my train of thought. But yeah, I feel like if I'm it's obviously not gonna be an easy pathway, with your mental health and stuff. But if you're always I used to in high school, I was I would have that mentality, it is what it is, I would get over it, and I would, come back. But in uni, I've realized that it's the same, but there's different measures that you have to take to make sure that you're mentally, physically, your whole order is kept in check.
Yeah, just hopping onto that. For me, I don't really have an issue with mental health. There may have been some issues, but I didn't notice as mental health issues. For instance, procrastination. That's a big one for mostly every student, I think. Just getting the motivation to finish that assignment and not worry about it later. That's one of the biggest issues I had in high school and this year, sadly. But I think what procrastination stems from is being comfortable and being too comfortable to the point where you like being comfortable, and then you don't want to do anything, don't want to worry about those things that are causing you stress. Comfortability is, I forgot, is the cause of procrastination. I think anything that makes you stimulated and then leads to addiction leads to is an offspring of procrastination. And one thing that got me over that delay of action was purpose, knowing your purpose, keeping you motivated, determined, but also putting that phone down. Though that, watching all these TikTok videos for hours doesn't get you anywhere. It's so easy to get stimulated by social media now. It's just a swipe away, and just those stimulating that dopamine levels are so high, which is crazy. I do not get that. How do you get so stimulated from just a swipe of a finger? I think that just gets me comfortable is just being lazy, and but also what Caroline told me was good stress and bad stress, and noticing it. And and that helped me throughout the semester as well, because it's those stressful moments that you need that get you over the line. And I think stress is just the alarm bell that never stops ringing in your head, at the back of your head. It's you can only turn down the volume but not fully turn it off. Way I put it. And I think when you increase the volume is when you really need to like get moving. Yeah, that's probably the point where I put my phone down. And yeah, but also another main motivator to check in on my mental health was one word: Christ, Jesus, God. And that was the main motivator for me, especially this year, finding Him. Yeah, that's me.
Good on you.
Cool, man. Oh, wow, man.
So it's honestly so much wisdom in what each of you has shared, and it's really interesting, just that paradox of, a lot of our families and the generations before have come through so much struggle to give us a better life. And then just talking about, Mac, when you mentioned that procrastination comes from comfort. And so our families, they want to provide us with a good life. And there's this weird balancing act that when we get to a certain point, how do we stay hungry and stay disciplined and stay focused on the vision of our ancestors, but also of our family, when things are so comfortable, when social media is just one swipe can be hours of your life just like that. And so it's this really interesting dynamic that if we don't stay focused and disciplined, it's really easy to just fall into like this weird state of limbo where you're in a bit of a haze and you just lose track of time. And it sort of just reminded me of this thought, obviously something I need to practice myself, but someone once told me that the joy of our lives should not be in the circumstances, but it should be found in the focus of our lives. And so whether it's focusing on Christ, on our family vision, on those who came before and aspiring to great men, that's actually where our joy should come from, as opposed to just getting caught up in the stresses, because there's always going to be stress. And so I think it's cool that you guys have talked about each of those little points that are often, they're actually really huge things. And I know that the listeners will gain a lot from what you've just shared. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I love what you just shared, Mac. All of you guys, and obviously you mentioned Christ, Mac. Just wondering, because obviously you've been in high school, now you're in another institute in uni. Obviously, there's another institute in terms of church, and we've touched on diversity of thought. Have there been instances where your thoughts and your values and morals have been challenged, especially during the tutorials or during the lectures? You think, I don't stand for that. I don't believe in that. But you felt like you just had to go with the pack, or did you find yourself, I can go against the grain. I'll stand up for what I believe. This is what I actually believe for. This is what I actually stand for. Has there been any instances like that?
No, I definitely had those occasions.
Yeah, share with us. Yeah.
There was one time in our lecture, and it was for anthropology. Anyone was in that class? So they were talking about like gender and like the whole realm of those stereotypes and etc. And they mentioned, and me and my friend, we kind of knew like, we should have just stayed home this lecture, but we came and we were sitting right at the front, and they were playing music videos, and it was like really like explicit and everything. And then the lecturer touched on like some of the societal like perspectives of those, and then she kind of like misrepresented or like missaid something like religiously, and like me and my friend, we just looked at each other and she kept going, and she was just like, we were just like, this is so wrong, and we literally just left. We're like, nah, like but thinking back on that, like when you're going through those different, even though it's like good to be there and like, try and see their perspective of things, like when it's not in your like, morals or like your viewpoints, sometimes it's good just to like, step away. Otherwise, like, but like this, like being in different societal like places, like, you're obviously going to come across things that you don't morally like agree with. And I feel like it's good to be there and understand their viewpoints, but sometimes it's just a matter of fact of like if you strongly believe it, then you should strongly like perceive it or like, you know, pursue it, you know.
Cool, man.
I think it's you know, it's really hard, especially at uni, to be steadfast and strong, hold strong to your faith. Especially, it's kind of a subliminal ostracization, if you understand what I mean. Where if you are steadfast in your faith, you're kind of othered, if you know what I mean. People, I guess the quote that kind of fits is, you know, people have educated themselves into imbecility, where they've kind of forgotten what it's like to be the other guy. And so I think holding steadfast to my faith has kind of marginalized me a little bit, if you get what you're kind of pushed to the side. It's like, oh, it's God and biology. Push him to the side. You know, he's talking fairy tales, but I think, you know, when you believe that's your life force, and when you believe that Jesus Christ is your savior, you take what he says seriously. And yeah, I would rather hold on to what Jesus says than what a lecturer says anytime.
Yeah.
So that's been the strong point for me, I guess.
Yeah, I'm the exact same as Nate. Being that other person, that Christian guy, you can't. Then pass my vape, you won't puff that. I've had friends that literally try to put me on weed and vapes, and I was like, nah. But they still did it, and I am a faithful man. People might not know this, but I do have a relationship with Christ, and it's been a long journey with this relationship. That's the hold of my morals, Christ Jesus. And I think just trying to navigate with all these diversity in this in that environment is so diverse. And I just think, just keeping the faith. And I put this picture in my head of this vision in my head, holding my hand with Jesus, and there's all this craziness going around us, but if I just maintain my hand with him, then everything's gonna be all right. I'm an imaginative person. I just see myself like looking up to Jesus, and he's just saying, it's gonna be all right, just continue to hold my hand. And then as soon as I let go, the craziness happens and surrounds me. Yeah, there's this Denzel Washington quote that I've watched today in preparation for the podcast. I try to remember it. He says, if the devil ignores you, that means you're doing something wrong. And yeah, I agree with that so much, because as soon as I let go of his hand and not having a constant relationship with him, it's been hard. I get, temptation arises, trying to resist it, it's harder. And then procrastination gets harder. I started getting angrier, but once I have that one prayer, everything falls into line, and that craziness spreads away. And that's when the devil tries to catch you again. And then if you know that temptation's getting harder, that means that spiritual warfare is getting, it's working.
Sure, bro.
That's cool. That's cool, man.
Creative sciences.
Yeah.
Wow.
So cool to hear. So awesome to hear how strong your faith comes through. And just thinking back to the uni experience, I remember feeling the same way, in a sense, where, we're talking about things that don't go with what we grow up believing. And then feeling like it's that's the Christian bunch over there.
Yeah.
But I was grateful for it in a way, because it made it easier to find other people. When we talked about diversity of thought, that was one of the diversities that was helpful, was like, actually, cool, this is the group that I'll be with when, if there's anything that will come in terms of the things that we're learning that might clash with my own faith, then I know that this is the group that we can talk about it and decompress and all that sort of stuff. And just really cool to hear that even at this young age, that your faith still plays an active part. And I was curious, Pete, in terms of faith in your life, because it's interesting to hear it from the young perspective, and then when you think back to your work experience and having to maintain or keep your faith and having to make tough decisions in your career, what's that been like for you?
It's been very hard in terms of when you wanted to do something, if you want to achieve something, especially in the Western world, but also in societal pressures and issues that you have to face. And so I totally agree with what you're saying, Nate. If you really believe in it, the values that you uphold and you steadfast towards what you actually believe, then it shouldn't be an issue. I think if you believe who you are and what you stand for and your convictions, then it's not going to faze you. But if you're uncertain or if you're not too sure about something, obviously you're going to waver. You're going to go back and forth like, oh, I'm not too sure. And so, yeah, my thing has always been, this is what I believe in. This is where I stand, and whatever opposes that is regardless of your decision or whatever preference you have, that's you. I respect you in that manner. We can agree to disagree, but this is where I stand. And it's always been my kind of train of thought and what I've done in terms of who I am as a person. And also be respectful at the same time. I always respect people with different perspectives, different attitudes. And so you can't go wrong with being respectful. I think people respect you when you're able to respect them, vice versa. But yeah, that's a good question again, Jay.
And the reason I ask is, in some senses, I think I wish I was as courageous as you three are in terms of having, defending your faith and standing up for what's right. I think from my perspective, I've often put off my faith to want to belong. Like my desire to belong has been stronger than my faith. And I think that's just more down to my personal journey with faith. And I'm still trying to find my feet. And I just accept that as part of my learning. It's part of my journey. But to be able to stand strong in what you believe in, like it's not easy. And I think there's a lot of people listening that can actually gain a lot of courage from what you've shared with us just now regarding faith. Because again, if you feel like that in uni, it's also like that everywhere in the world, in every industry. People will make you feel lesser because of your faith, especially in the modern age where there's all sorts of theories and learnings and opinions and all that sort of stuff, and people take a lot of that as fact. Faith becomes the minority. It becomes the strange thing, but it's always been an anchor for our people as growing up personally, but also for the people that have come before us, our parents, our grandparents, all that sort of thing. So big ups on that.
That's cool. Good question. Obviously, in university, with the lectures that you have, one of the main points is they teach you to critically think. Is that correct? Yeah, critically think. Obviously, some of those thoughts may oppose what you actually think and your convictions. But on the flip side, has there been something that you actually thought and you kind of held close to that you think, maybe I was wrong. Maybe the lecturer is saying something that maybe I should look more deep into that, and maybe they have something that is actually right, and your train of thought or your decision kind of has changed. Is there been a moment in university where you're like, maybe I was wrong?
I can't think of any.
No. Well, the lecturers are wrong.
All about the steadfast in you. Yeah.
No, not really. I think when you hold to your beliefs as truth, because that's what we're all trying to look for. We're all trying to look for truth, and like the quote goes, it's one bigger showing another bigger where I found bread. And so when you're offering your point of view towards those things, you're offering truth. We're all in pursuit of truth, and I think my pursuit of truth has led me to the gospel. And if yours doesn't lead you there, so be it. I offered you my hand, you didn't take it, but God willing, you'll take it someday because you're wrong.
Straight up.
Yeah, hand on my heart. Yeah, just that's truth. Yeah.
Has there been any people obviously some people have different perspectives. Has there been lecturers or even students who have challenged you in your thoughts and in what you stand for?
I hope they do soon.
Sister, your left hook again.
Or they're too afraid? Are they too afraid to challenge you guys?
Yeah, I feel like once you've like, you've kind of put yourself out there in those groups, like then you only like have those groups to kind of conversate and just like share opinions with. So I feel like, yeah, not yet is my answer.
Yeah, me too. Not yet. Not really had anyone challenge my faith. Only making me feel conflicted. Those exterior sources make me feel conflicted. Just by the actions of people and my friends, close friends, just make me question my beliefs. Like I said before, like vaping and drinking, all that culture, all that high school, university, teenage culture. I don't really fit the scope of that, but I'm happy with where I am, regardless.
Good, man. That's good.
I feel like it's really hard for our generation, like right now, to kind of like not fall into those cultures, especially with vaping and all of the on the side.
Yeah, I just think that Western culture just made it bigger and like the most enjoyable thing, but to us religious us believers, it's probably the worst things to get ourselves under in these cultures. And yeah,
I think in terms of faith, I think that's where we apply that, only God can judge the heart. And so, our outward actions don't always match up with what, I've done things that I would say weren't, that wasn't me. I wouldn't do that usually, but I've done it. So I don't think all the time our outward actions lead us towards that. But I think nobody's challenged me on my faith so far because I think I look scary at school. Look like a kind of homeless person. Oh, you're supposed to be in the lecture room with things. I had one instance actually where the entire lecture room was filled except for my row and one chair on the row beneath me. So the lady came and sat on the end of my row. I was here towards the wall, and she turned to me, took one look at me, and then she sat on the next row. I'm like, oh wow. So I just sat there by myself while the whole lecture room was filled. Good on you. Good on you for looking
She
scary.
must have saw you. I love Jesus.
I think it's my eyes or something. It's like,
I think because you went to Avondale.
oh wow.
Probably the Bailima.
Next question. Next question.
Man, it's so interesting. I'm curious to hear your thoughts about because I feel like people react differently to being ostracized or being the minority group. Sometimes we'll keep to ourselves. Other times it makes us more desperate to fit in. Sometimes there's a bit of anger and resentment there, and I'm curious about your thoughts on victim mentality and like having the courage to just own that things are different and I can still walk this path, because I think a lot of people would buckle under wanting to fit in and having pressure. And I know you guys have talked about faith, but what are your thoughts on things like victim mentality, which I feel like is something more modern? I don't know, perhaps it's been around for ages, but I'd feel like it's definitely more prevalent in today's society.
I feel like that just adds on to the comfort talk. Like, we feel like we can only like achieve much or like, do the best we can when we're comfortable. But obviously there's that saying like, you can't go like comfortability. Like if you're not in your comfort zones, or if you're not reaching out of your comfort zones, then you're not you're not moving, or like you're not.
That's true.
But yeah.
Yeah. I think sometimes it makes me mad. The kind of victim mentality, it kind of occupies space for real victims, I guess. Not to say that a lot of people aren't victims and that we haven't suffered, but everybody's been through pain. Everybody's been, I guess, marginalized in some way. Oh, he didn't talk to me or something along those lines. But in today's generations, the way that it's kind of spiraled out of control, it does make me a little bit mad. But I guess that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I didn't have that much to add on. I haven't really been victimized. I'm a really faithful man, and I keep to my faith. Sometimes I keep it in private. Like Nate said, if you have your perspectives, I have my perspectives. I respect yours. You better respect mine. But yeah. Despite like having differing perspectives, I don't hate you. I don't hate them. I love them. Coming from my moral values, I love everyone, and I make sure to hold kindness to like paramount. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, we're all people. No one's more marginalized than one another. We're people. We go through hurt. We go through pain. So I think we can relate to one another on that level. If we can't be on religious thought, if it can't be on, the color of our skin, then just relate to each other as people.
No, that's cool. I love that. I think just another thought that came to mind as you guys were speaking was there are a lot of things, that make it harder for us to find success in our chosen field. But I never got the feeling, as you guys shared your experiences throughout this whole interview, that you used it as a shield or as a reason for like why you haven't done the things that you wanted to do. And it's just really cool to see the hope and the ambition and the drive in each of you in your individual pursuits. And saying that it's very evident that the pursuits, although you're doing them on your own when you go to uni, that you all represent something more than just yourselves, whether it's Christ or your families. That is it really comes through as you guys talk about your experience. So thank you so much for sharing.
So good. I like what you said, Nate, in terms of being victimized, that it's not about, everyone goes through pain. Everyone has faced or experienced hardships or struggles or trauma, whether it be past or present. But I love it, because it is. I 100% believe that it should be based on your own merit, your hard work. Yeah, you just put in the hard yards. And it should be that way. And I love it that as young as you are, that you have that kind of thought or that kind of capacity to think that way, because there's a lot of people out there, and I'm just throwing it out there, that may just use that victim card or the race card. Oh, no, because I'm an islander, I'm Māori and all that kind of stuff, and use it as an excuse as to why they're not moving or why they're not successful. But I love that you three said, no, I'm brown, I'm islander, I'm Māori, whatever it is, but I'm still going to strive and thrive for what I can achieve. And so props to you guys. I love that you think that way.
It's that Thomas Sowell talk, eh?
Oh, man, I love Thomas Sowell. I love that Thomas Sowell guy, man. People might oppose him, might not like him, but hey, he's onto something. He's what, 90, he's almost 100 now, eh? He's still alive, he's still alive, yeah. But man, that's amazing. But also just because people are watching this, and a lot of obviously maybe more adults, but you get a lot of young viewers who might be watching this and maybe in uni as well, or just kind of thinking of getting into some sort of tertiary education. What do you think they should know, especially for those young prefects who may be thinking, what are the key components you think they should understand, or they should gear themselves or prepare themselves when they are going in their first year of studies?
Be prepared to have like identity attacks, it's a lot of influential culture and within uni, so just be prepared to have opinions that don't align with yours, but stay strong to your own. And another one would be, honestly, just make friends, find those groups, because you'll need it. Those networks really play a part in your studies, test answers, or I couldn't come to the tutorials, etc. But yeah, I feel like one thing is just to be your authentic self and do the hard yards, but do it authentically, not off someone else's back type thing. Yeah.
I think just two things, trust God and listen to mum and dad. I think that's all from me. There's no real formula to preparing yourself for anything. I didn't come here and do the magic formula, rub the genie lamp or anything. I think just trust God and listen to mum and dad. That's all from me. Yeah.
Me. I think I have two kind of formulas. One is the same as Nate. Trust God. Because my experience, I think, comes from God's plan, and I have full trust in God's plan that as if I hold onto His hand, then He will take me where I need to go, and that's what I keep in the back of my head. But for the students that are struggling with find and paving their way and paving their pathway, I think it's a journey. So it starts probably if you're in year 9 to year 11, at least have an idea of having your dreams and probably align it with your interests and your passions. If you don't have any skill set or passions, make some, or at least experience some, because you'll never have a dream without really having a skill set. So build a proper skill set. And also, I think if you're in year 13, you have to make a plan. Year 12 and year 13, make a plan. If you think there are obstacles in your way from that prevent you from following that path, there's many services there that can break those obstacles, make you jump over those obstacles. Financial issues that you might have, there's scholarships in place. There's StudyLink, student allowance that can at least hold you up to par in your university experience. Also, uni prep, preparation for uni. Like Mena said, building those relationships, networking, and making friends. That's the one.
Yeah.
Awesome, Mac.
And I feel like just adding on to that, you gotta do the mahi, get the treats. It's good to you have to keep yourself in check. Like you can only be accountable for your own actions. Like no one can hold your hand in those spaces. So I feel like just keeping that in the back of your head, all this hard work is obviously gonna lead up to something in the long run.
Keeping the faith.
So, keeping the faith.
That's good, man. That's good. That's awesome. I thought we'd just touch on plagiarism. Just off the record, has there ever been this?
My lecture's not.
But also just obviously great advice from you three, but also obviously Jay and I are parents, and obviously Charlize, and she's 18, she's at MIT, and sometimes as parents we worry for our kids. Obviously you guys are in uni now, and sometimes our parents are thinking, what are they learning? What is all this? What are they learning? What are they gaining? What's all these new systems and all these new train of thoughts, philosophies, all that kind of stuff that you are bombarded with every day when you go to uni. And so what are some of the things that you would hope or you would have loved to tell mum and dad in terms of your learning process or your thought process, and also what kind of support would you want from mum and dad that you haven't already asked from them?
I mean, for me, coming from a single parent, having to fulfill those both roles, I don't have anything against her, the way she brought me up, So yeah, no, it's just funny because every time she asks me about uni, I'm like, oh, but you wouldn't understand. No, because and then I'd start telling her about it and going on a whole spiel, and she'll just be there watching her TV and she's just like, oh, yep. And I know she has no idea what I'm talking about, but it's just nice, having that, our parents do try to understand, what we're learning, what we're doing, because obviously it's a different time period, and I feel I appreciate what our parents are doing for now, and it took me a while to understand that, but Yeah, I feel like if I had one thing, actually, I don't think I would have anything, like, but just that support system really plays, like, just knowing that they have your back, whether it might not show it, but like, it's there. Good thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome, Mena.
I think I'm in the same boat as Mena. Single parent. The only person that I talk about my assignments with is my dad. And I love my dad, man, because every time I try and explain my projects, one of my projects was about making a tree that changes changes appearance by the change in temperature and the weather. And it was a weird concept to my dad. And he took it back to biblical terms, like, how about if you change the tree into the tree of life, and then all those biblical terms, and the leaves represent Adam and eating the apple. And, that's not what he said, but something like that. And I'm like, damn. And it's like, I actually supported him with his ideas. I'm like, yeah, Dad. And then what? And then what? Oh yeah, and the next, and what? Yeah. And but really, at the back of my head, I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that. That's a C+ at most.
I hope your dad's watching this one.
I love you, Dad. But yeah, because in my family, I don't really talk about them about my assignments because they don't really understand it and they don't care. And I relate to that, but yeah, it's only my dad. And whatever he does, whatever he says, I take it. Don't take it. I just take it how it is and just lie to him that I love his ideas. But yeah, that's it.
For me, I think the dynamic between me and my parents, I wouldn't say I necessarily need anything more from them, but our dynamic is really transparent, in which I talk to them about everything, and the way they've always responded this way towards my schoolwork, my brother's schoolwork, my sister's schoolwork. It's kind of the taranga pu of pati por whepo. So nengan wenga tapuai or nengan wenga manuia. So there's any work that's blessed, that's supported by your family, is blessed. Is your work's gonna be blessed. So that's kind of the dynamic that I've always had with my parents. But also understanding that as they're watching me grow up, I'm also watching them grow up. So we have to be kind of tolerant of each other. You're growing up in different times. You're growing up in different generations, different ages. Some of the norms a lot of the norms have changed since they were in school, and they understand that because of my transparency with them. This is the sort of things that my lecturer is touching on. I don't agree with him. I want to grab him. I want to say a lot of my interactions at school, a lot of my schoolwork, I do share with my parents because I think it's important to keep them in the loop. They're not vegetables. Dare I say, they're not vegetables. So, you got to keep them in the loop with your life. Yeah.
Man, my Lord lover, Nate. My Lord lover.
And I just really enjoy that that train of thought. I think it's important. Sharing what you're learning at uni isn't necessarily to get them to understand what you're learning about, but it's simply to keep them in the loop. It's important to feel like you're wanted, or that that you care enough to share your learning. And I think you're all on the right track. And just speaking on something that came to mind while you were sharing, Nate, was just when we talk about grades at school, I get this complaint from my students all the time. They're like, why do we have to learn how to do it? I'm never going to use this in my life. And my rebuttal has always been, you don't know what the future holds. Schooling at this age is simply to keep the doors open until you know what door you want to walk through, and then all good. You can close the rest and focus on this. Yeah. And it made me think, Mac, I think you had talked about things like scholarships and all that sort of stuff that's available to you if you're wanting to go from high school to uni. And it helped me realize the importance of grades. It's not necessarily to show how smart you are, but grades are simply to show that you can be trusted. It's to show that you can be trusted to do the work to get a certain outcome, so that when you apply for scholarships, it's not a sign of maybe they use it as a diversity thing, but it's more a sign of based on your grades, we can trust that we can invest this money into your education and that you'll go through and pull through. So the grades, the work that you put in at high school, it is important because it's about building trust in yourself and from the educators, and also when you go to knock on those doors and they say, how do I know I can trust you with my investment, with my time, if it's mentoring, with my money, if it's scholarships? And that's what you're going to show as your trust. It's my grades. Part of it will be your interview skills, and like, honestly, things like your faith will be such a great foundation to build on. And already clearly, I don't know if any of you have done this before, but you all seem pretty comfortable here having a conversation about your lives, essentially. So I can just tell that you've put a lot of work in to get to where you're at, and that from your work, you've built a lot of trust. So, yeah, that was just the thought that came to mind. Sharing.
Yeah, because, what Jay's saying, I look at you three and good-looking, young, vibrant, so much to live for. yeah, especially you, Nate. Yeah. And so I'm just wondering, because I'm thinking, because obviously uni is a big place, diverse, and so obviously as young people, the hormones, testosterone is kicking in and all that kind of stuff. Are you tempted sometimes? Maybe I should ask this first. Are you guys single or are you guys?
My parents.
You're married already.
My parents.
But yeah, if you are single, how do you guys manage it in terms of the temptation that's out there, or also the temptation of, hey, you should be with someone, you should have a boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever it is, or the temptation to use alcohol, drugs, experiment, nightclubbing, shadows, so to speak, all that kind of stuff.
Sky and light.
Yeah. Oh, we love it, yeah. And so all the temptation that's facing you guys, and while you're studying and so forth. How do you guys manage all that? Besides juggling the studies and the assignments, home life, and also the other temptations, how do you manage that? Or are you just all good just to, you know what, I'm cool just to be single at the moment?
I think it jumps back to faith. You know what I mean? Holding strong in your faith, you realize, you kind of use it as a guideline to life. Obviously, there's times that you're gonna fall, you're gonna fail. But in terms of keeping yourself in check, you go by the guideline, you go by the book. And, for us, it just so happens to be the Bible. And that's our way of living in terms of dealing with temptations, in terms of, finding a partner. That's always been the go-to, I guess. And, if all else fails, mum and dad's always there. You're not going to bring that girl home? Nah, mum and dad, you can always trust them. So.
Cool.
Yeah, I feel like my home life has really affected the way I've kind of placed my foot in this world. And I don't, although it's inevitable that temptations are going to be there, but if you just... if you have your mum's voice in the back of your head, I feel like that's, and I'm sweet, I'm fine, I have my friend groups, and I have my faith, that's all I need at this moment, and yeah.
I'm pretty much the same, trusting in God's plan, faith. I keep coming back to this, but that's what I've been following this whole time throughout my journey, knowing that someone will come along the way and trust God's plan. But to be honest, when I was in high school, the girls were the main motivator for why I went to school. But, to be honest, but yeah.
That's funny. There was a question I was going to ask earlier when you were talking about the lack of male academic excellence in school. I was like, what are the males in high school get into? Then I was like, oh yeah, that's not. Nah, cool. One question I had, and I'm mindful of time, but I was curious about, are there any questions you have, what questions do you as uni students have about what comes next steps after uni?
There's a lot. I feel like I'm always thinking about, what is this going to lead me to? Is it going to be financially stable? is this what my parents are gonna like? What are they gonna think? Or like, I feel like those questions do play a part in like how you on your actions, and they keep you kind of on the supposed track that you're going to lead yourself to. So, yeah. I almost forgot what the question was.
It was just about questions that you have about the next step in your journey. Once uni's finished, what questions do you have about what might come? Because we're curious beings. We always are thinking about like what comes next. So I'm curious about the questions that you have about those specific things where you're like, what's next for me kind of thing.
I feel like uncertainty is like a really big player in like, what's coming next. Because, everything's going to change. Like with me, like with the whole like politics, or like I want to be in those spaces. But now that I've finished my year, I'm just like, you know what? I want to do something else. I actually, I could like take that into something else that I'm also passionate about. And, I feel like when you go through those different experiences, like you push yourself out of those comfort zones, then you kind of like unleash different perspectives that lead you on to, bigger and greater goals, or like different, pathways that you never thought of partaking in.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
That's a really good question, because I hadn't thought of anything yet. I think as of right now, the only questions I'm kind of thinking, what am I going to have for lunch today? What time is this assignment due? What am I going to do in the exam? So that's a good question. But I think mainly for now, it's just what are the challenges that you're going to face? Am I going to do better than I did this year? In terms of like the coursework, I'm not too worried really. I think it's mainly just questioning myself. Are you going to be stupid and try and procrastinate again, or are you going to study right from the beginning right to the end? So yeah.
Just jumping on, I think having a defined goal, a clear goal. Many people might not have clear goals, and I just put another vision in my head that imagine you're on a path and you're in this heavy smoke cloud, in this heavy fog, and at the end is your dream, and you don't really have one. And I think as you're walking through this fog into your dream, the only way you can really see or reveal your path is by learning and experiencing things. And going to university, I think that's helping me shed some light on the fog and seeing clearly defining my path and my goal. Right now, I don't really have a defined goal. I'm just seeing where it takes me, and all the opportunities that might come with it. But with the students I work with the program we've been developing, there's a lot of students that have walking in that fog, and I think that's due to lack of purpose. They haven't been walking in purpose, and I think if you do walk in purpose, I think there'll be a kind of a spotlight that sheds upon your pathway, and just making sure you know your intentions, you can see your pathway. That's it for me.
That's cool. And this is probably my final question, and it was just a hypothetical. Let's say you get through your studies, you're about halfway through your studies, maybe 2/3 of the way there. You finish your second year, and for some reason, this thought enters your mind, and you realize that what you're studying is not what you're passionate about anymore. What do you do? Do you finish it off and then see where that takes you? Or do you change your study and immediately pursue your new passion? What would you do?
I think I've been raised by old school as well. Don't do a half baked or something. Half pie job. Half pie job. Yeah, and I think I can't waste my time, So like I've seen all that progress that I've made, and seeing that I don't really want to finish it off. I have to finish off. That's what I put in my head sometimes, and I think I'll finish off my semester if I don't like it. But still,
I feel like for me, I would have to change it. Like, because like you're saying, time is precious. Like, although we're still young, like I have that thought, like, time is precious. Like, it shouldn't be wasted on something, like all that effort and passion shouldn't be wasted on something that could have been, couldn't have been, Yeah, so I feel like, I would definitely change like halfway or like throughout whichever circumstance or like situation. Like, I don't think it's just worth it unless, I feel like it just depends on the context of it. Yeah.
And the student loan, eh?
True, yeah. Especially those scholarships, like,
Yeah.
I'm not too sure. No, I would say keep on going with what you're doing. It's just a personal opinion, really. But you've gone through all that time, all that effort. There's always time for passion later, and oftentimes we don't get to pursue. We're not able to pursue what we're passionate about. But at the end of the day, the money's gonna come in. You know what I mean? The money's gonna come in. So I think don't waste your time. Don't waste your talent. Don't waste your journey. So yeah.
That's cool. And the only reason I ask is because I felt like it's a really good indicator in terms of where your mindsets are at. Not that there's any right or wrong answer. Like, I'm a big believer that God is aware of the individual journey, and that the thoughts we have, like, He knows that. So He'll put us in a position, whatever we choose, He'll always carve the path ahead. So just really interesting to see the similarities and the differences by each of you. Yeah, that was awesome.
That's cool. Just one more question before we kind of conclude. Obviously, you've undergone your first year of studies, which is all good. Congratulations, you guys are officially finished for the year. Well done. But throughout the whole process this year, what has been the greatest aspect? What has been the greatest thing that you have learnt about yourself?
Oh, deep.
Way
right
to end
to
it
the
off.
heart. Shut back.
That's a hard question, to be honest. But I think accountability has been a hard one. I mean, probably the most valuable, I'd say. Stepping from high school, there's always been an exterior source where, do your work. But now in uni, it's kind of an interior source where I have to motivate myself. So keeping myself accountable, because I have a big reputation to uphold in my university journey. Because if I fail, man, then that's it. I don't know where I'm going after that, but keeping myself accountable, because my walk up, not being able to walk if I drop out of uni. Yeah, that's me.
So what we've learned about ourselves.
The greatest thing you've learned about yourself this year.
Oh, I feel like probably like independence. Obviously, like going into like the university field, it's always like an individual like journey. But like, although you have your collective around you and etc. But it's kind of crazy to kind of see yourself thrive being independent, and that's not something I would have seen myself thrive in, being so like cooped up and like within like family and everything. But yeah, I think accountability and just thriving for something I want to like pursue in.
For me, it was my resilience. Your capacity to be able to take things on and keep going. My mom taught me that the whole year. At the beginning of the year, I was so weak-minded. Oh, I can't do this and do my schoolwork. Oh, I can't do this and do my schoolwork. But she showed me, and she proved to me an example, because she graduated with her bachelor as well, and she told me the story of how she would, go home, do all the fi'aus, go do her schoolwork, and it'd be 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning doing your schoolwork, and it kind of inspired me to be able to take those things on. you know, you can do your schoolwork and be a part of the family and wash the dishes, mow the lawn, paint the house, cut the grass, you know, everything. You're able to do it. And I think one of the Tai'i Ole Moana thing, one of the things we learned from there is that a lot of kids are suffering from expectations. But one of the kind of rebuttals to that is, you know, you can do it. You know, what's expected of you, it's because you have the ability to do it. And I think that's where a lot of people are shying away from, or trying so hard to be something else. But, you know, what people expect of you, it's because you have the ability to do it. So that's what I learned from myself, or something that my mum told me. So, yeah.
Maro lava. Totally lava. Man, thank you so much, you three. It's always, it is, hey Jay, it's always been a privilege. Obviously Jay's doing his masters as well. And so I know when Jay, he loves just kind of being in the midst of these young people who just have a passion to learn. Because Jay, man, he loves to. He's a guy. He just loves to learn, constantly learning. And AJ, would it be true, Jake? You loved it when these young folks kind of come in and just share their hearts. But what are your thoughts on tonight? Because it's been a real good one, real treat for us. Is because usually we get the older or mature guys or adults, but just been a real treat.
I'm really grateful. I love it because I see some of my students in yourselves, and it gives me great hope to know that they will go on to. I've always believed that my kids will go on to do great things, and I imagine your parents must be so proud of the pursuit that you're on now. But I love to learn, and I want to change things, and I know that change doesn't just come because we wish it. It comes because we work for it, we fight for it, we learn about it. And that's the season of my life. I know that, you know, I believe that there's seasons of our life to do certain things. And for me, this next season of life is, while my kids are young, it's being the example to them that I can, like you mentioned, Nate, you know, I can be a father. I can go learn. I can teach other kids. I can come home, still do the washing, do the lawns, help with the food, all that sort of stuff. Like I want to show them that you can be all these great things, that you have greatness in you. You simply have to become it, but that you have all the ingredients. And that's been one of the biggest things I've learned about teaching, is that actually the things that schools need, that children need, and that schools are looking for, is the stuff that we've been raised with. So you've already got the stuff that they want, because that's what's in short supply these days. And I think that comes down to having that, seeking that truth, the eternal truth. It's always there, it's always right. And if you hold true to that stuff, the Lord will always find a place for you. Speaking to you three, honestly, Nate, hearing about your dad and your Uncle George, I just think it's awesome that you have the vision to look up to them and to recognize the greatness in those men. And I see greatness in you, the way that you carry yourself, the way that you speak. It's so inspirational. You're so well spoken and disciplined. Like, I can just tell from your vibe. And I'm confident that you'll go out and do great things, honestly. So I'm really grateful to have you here. Mena, I think there's a lot of people that'll benefit from the woman that you will become. Like, I see so much potential in you. And I think what you're studying, learning about Pacific studies and now history, like, that'll only enrich the uniqueness that you have to offer wherever you go. And I think it's smart in a sense that you're open to what comes. And it's okay not to know. Because when you get there and you know, it was always meant to be, you'll look back and be like, bro, the Lord got me here, specifically me. There's no one else that could walk through this door except you. So I'm really excited for what you'll offer the upcoming generation as well. And Mac, I think, honestly, already I was like, bro, this guy will be a mean entrepreneur. Some people shy away from failure, and I think it's awesome that you had that experience in high school and we're like, bro, that's cool. And definitely creative tech is just... It's so fitting for just the vibe and your thoughts and your energy. The great thing about entrepreneurship is you are your own master. Like, when I went to go study 10 years ago, I had this question, and it helped me decide. It was like, do I pursue my talent or my passion? And I just didn't know. So I just followed my heart and I went with my passion. I put off my study for teaching. I went off and did a whole bunch of things. Entrepreneurship was one of them. And then when I had my first kid, it brought me full circle to finish my studies. So I was a bit late finishing my studies, but the things I brought with me, because I pursued all these other things, it enriched my offering now. And now I know that at school, wherever I go, wherever I teach, no one can offer what I can offer because of my journey. And I just think with your mindset, you're actually going to go out and do some amazing things, create some amazing things, and providing for yourselves and your family will never be an issue. And saying that is everything that I have to share. I cannot wait to see what comes next for you all. And I can't wait to follow your journeys and revisit this conversation in a few years and be like, what's life been like after uni? Where you at now? How has your vision changed? I'm really excited.
You better remember us. But yeah, thank you, Jay. Thank you once again, guys. It's just been a real privilege. It is. It's always been a privilege to have young people on board on the podcast. But the thing that's kind of has taken me aback is that how grounded you guys are. You're grounded in your faith and your convictions, and also very confident in who you are as young people. And I can remember back in my days, but even other people that I remember, we used to kind of think, you could often waver to and fro, a bit of uncertainty, confusion, but you guys are not that. You guys are very, very highly motivated, very intelligent, and also as individuals, but also not only as individuals, but also as a collective. Just very proud to be in the midst of you young, amazing people. But we always give a gift for our guests, and we always draw a cartoon or a caricature of our guests, how we envision them to be. And so on behalf of Jamin, Brad, and Charles, myself, the Mandate team, this is for you guys. Cool. That's for you, Mena.
Mena. Oh. Let's go. Whoa. Oh. Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. We appreciate it. Just before we kind of finish off, is there anyone that you can think of, any young people or young persons that you think that would be ideal to come on the podcast? That they have some good nuggets to share.
I think the next in line from our Taitai Ole Moana group is obviously Sophie and Charm, head boy of De La Salle College.
Anyone besides
I got you guys. But yeah, those are the only two I can think of.
Nice, Mac.
Probably, I can't think of her full name, but Suluafi, she's like an activist, like a young Samoan activist on like climate change and like, climate warrior.
Is The Rock still young? If you get him. Yeah, probably Toffee and Charm. Sorry. Can't really think of anyone else off the top of my head right now. Just amazed at this. That's me.
Thank you, guys. Awesome. We always give our guests the last words. If you have any words of encouragement for our viewers and our listeners.
Johnny.
Silence.
No, I think it's the same thing that I said before. Trust God and listen to mum and dad. But thank you to you both. Thank you to you both for your questions and for being understanding. We're young, so thank you to you too.
I know.
Yeah, if I had one thing to leave off to our viewers, to hold steadfast on your faith and your your groundings, your foundations. As long as you have that, you're sweet.
Cool. Yeah. I think coming from a student perspective, because I think students will take the most value in our advice as past students as well. I think my advice to you guys will be another quote from Denzel Washington. And I say this a lot when I was back in Mangere College. What was it? Dreams without goals are just dreams. On the road to achieving those dreams, you must apply commitment and discipline. Because without commitment, you will never start, and without discipline, you'll never finish.
Man, Nick. Man, that's the perfect way to finish it off. And so, guys, thank you once again. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We look forward to your well thought out comments. And as usual, Uzo J,
Refine,
unlock,
and take charge.
Mandate.